Welcome back, guys. Don't know how long or short this one's gonna be. This actually isn't one of those scripts I've been talking about that are still in the pipeline, but this is something I was racking my brain around all damn day. This is just something I'm very curious how it's gonna play out in the coming chapters, and that is the in short the whereabouts of Vegapunk in long, the whereabouts of Vegapunk, why he's suddenly missing, his status in the series in general, his status in this arc. Who is he? He is a very morally gray character, in my opinion. He kind of comes off as the jolly old man archetype almost, but I don't know. It feels like there's a lot under the surface. Now, do I think he's a bad guy? No. I think, if anything, he is the, if you will, the illustration of the ambiguity of man, of humanity, of people in general. You know, the way he split himself up into all those forms: greed, wisdom, wrath, good, evil. What was the other one? Research? I forget Edison's research or something. He's kind of like the weird one. Like, it's kind of less a personality trait. I guess it's not, but anyway, I digress a bit. Mostly I'm talking about where is Vegapunk, and the way we'll get into what that means for his character will kind of come on the various theories I spitball, but let's just get started really quick. Where is Vegapunk? We have a few ideas, I think. Now, baseline is last chapter, we get a very interesting, sort of never before seen, done by Oda panel where they're in the middle of searching for Vegapunk and he throws in an Oda box. A most mysterious thing has occurred, and I'm paraphrasing a little. Vegapunk, Dr. Vegapunk has gone missing on Egghead Island. It is kind of weird coming in there at the middle of the chapter like that, just seemingly out of nowhere. And sure enough, I personally actually, in 1073, I didn't think too much about it. But come 1074, it stands out in my mind quite a bit more because this really doesn't make sense. Something is not adding up about Vegapunk. Now, where could he be? We know Shaka says he is nowhere on the cameras. However, and this isn't the point of the video, so I don't want to go in too deep, but if you're in the same boat as me, Shaka is sus as fuck. I don't trust that guy at all. And if he's the one in charge of surveillance, and he's the one saying, where things are, nobody's really backing it up, how are we to know if that's really true or not? Could he be somewhere in the lab and Shaka is just directing everyone somewhere else? We kind of saw that potentially with Pythagoras, luring him or sending him to a location, and then Pythagoras seemingly gets blown up. Did he do that with Vegapunk? Well, I don't quite think it goes that far. I don't think Shaka went and got Vegapunk killed. Last we saw Vegapunk, he was a little kid. Could it be possible that he's seeing a little kid running around and isn't thinking much of it? Maybe. Highly doubtful, though. After all, Vegapunk does have that apple antenna coming out of his skull, so it's pretty hard to miss him. You know what I mean? Regardless of how old he is, I think if you know Vegapunk at all, you would recognize that as Vegapunk. So, what's another option? Well, let's look at something that was introduced this chapter, 1074. Pacifista Mark IIIs have this ability to trap people inside of them. They trap the Cypherpole agents inside of their bodies. It was kind of a mystery to me, like, where did all the agents go? Where are they going? And it's the pacifistas. They're just, I don't know if it's a feature of the pawpaw fruit powers or if they literally opened up their chest and just engulfed the agents and ate them in a way. But they're bouncing around inside of the pacifistas. We see a little little panel of them, you know, getting jostled around. That's great. Could Vegapunk be in one of them hiding? I don't know if that's the way I think it's gonna go, but out of everything I've said so far, that's the most plausible. I think that is the most plausible out of all of them. Maybe he's using the pacifistas to sneak out himself, sneak somewhere else to safety, to have gotten away from Bonnie, perhaps. In that vein of thinking, though, he was last seen with Bonnie, and Bonnie, well, in 1073 at least, was last seen going into the memory. This is another thing I was thinking of today, was how does that memory bubble work exactly? Is it like the pain bubble? Like Zoro didn't really go into the pain bubble like he did. He pushed his arms into it, but it was sort of like that was how it would absorb into him. I kind of assumed with the memory bubble, Bonnie got like sucked in and it was some metaphysical thing where she wasn't there anymore at all. But Shaka said she was on the cameras. So now I'm kind of inclined to believe, no, it works the same way as the pain bubbles. She can stick her arms into it, and it'll be the same thing as Zoro sucking in that pain. She, in her mind, is metaphysically sucked into the memory in this abstract way. But physically, she still exists. She's just touching this memory bubble. So that kind of ruled out if Vegapunk might be lost in Kuma's memories. However, is it confirmed that that's how that worked? To me, even ruminating on that line of thinking about how the memory bubble works, it still kind of seems like she fell out of it completely. There is the panel with the arms, though, so the more I think about it, the more I lean to it that way. But after all, maybe I was right the first time, and this is a subversion of expectations on Oda's part. He expects us to think, oh, it would work the same way it worked back in Thriller Bark with Zoro. So you just gotta touch it to a certain degree. You're not getting sucked into it. It's what it contains, I guess. It's hard to even define how this memory bubble or even the pain bubble works. So could Vegapunk be in there? I don't think it's out of the question. Personally, I do think the pacifist idea that he's hiding in one of them is more in the question. But there's a lot about this bubble that ties Kuma and Bonnie and Vegapunk together. So for Vegapunk to be lost in there, maybe Bonnie, we know she's going to go back in next chapter after that sometime soon. She's going to head back into the memories. Who knows? Maybe she'll find Vegapunk at some point, and he's at, you know, a crucial part of Kuma's memories. They team up to get through the memories, or he imparts some wisdom on Bonnie there in a safe space where there aren't really people listening or watching them. Could he be in Kuma's memory? Maybe. I don't think that's out of the question at all. Where else could Vegapunk be, though, if he's not anywhere else? Well, what if he's already off the island? I don't think it's super plausible, you know? It would be kind of hard to get away that fast, is the thing. Maybe one of the Cypher Pole ships were taken, one of the old ones, Cypher Pole 7 and 8, and those that were at Egghead and then left and then were never heard from again. Could he be on one of those, maybe? Maybe. Doubtful. Is the Navy already just offshore, like on the other side of Egghead? And he went that way, and he just met up with them and was like, hey, guys, hey, I didn't do this. Yeah, go in and deal with shit. Because I have to say, at this point, another thing, and this is a bit of a digression, but this is what makes this idea work a little bit. Vegapunk was working on the Seraphims. He gave them the authority, hierarchy ranking, and who's at the top but the Gorosei. Now, Kizaru was already on his way to Egghead. We know that. Before any sort of fighting erupted between Cypherpole and the Straw Hats before they even knew the Straw Hats were there. Kizaru was bound there for something, and it seems like Saturn was too. They're in the same party. It seems like they probably were on their way there. My best guess is to test out the Seraphim and make sure that that hierarchy worked, perhaps for the Gorosei to know, hey, we got a good return on our investment. These things are pretty damn powerful. They're pretty good at their job. I think that is like the likeliest explanation of why there was a Navy entourage with a Gorosei member already bound for Egghead. However, I don't think Vegapunk is purely evil and would just all of a sudden turn on the Straw Hats, turn on Bonnie, turn on his own satellites for no reason. I think he wants to see what Nika, Luffy, Joy Boy, however, in his mind, I think he sees it as Nika. He wants to see what Nika in the current age could do against a Gorosei member. I think he set this up along the way. Now, obviously that takes into account, he kind of assumes that Luffy would have made for Egghead, which is kind of a broad assumption. He could have gone to Elbaf or Winter's Island, from just where the log poses were. So it's not a fully concrete theory, I will say, but maybe that was a plan he thought up on the fly. Maybe they were on the way just to test out the Seraphim, and now he has this new opportunity, and he's saying, well, let's make sure Straw Hat Luffy can actually protect me and get me off of Egghead. Let's see how he does against a Gorosei member. Number two, I think he could just want to see what Nika could do. He was so entranced by the White Warrior earlier. I think another thing that bolsters this theory is the fact that he didn't seem to bank on Cypherpole Zero arriving, and there they were. And he took that as a chance for him to test Luffy against Lucci. So that was test one. Okay. He can beat the Celestial Dragon's #1 fucking warrior. Well, let's see how he does against the #1 Celestial Dragon. Not, maybe I shouldn't say that, but what I really mean is the Gorosei being #1 of all of the Celestial Dragons. Let's see how he faces off against the top dogs of the top dogs. I do think the Gorosei are going to be tough. I don't think they're just old men waiting around making decisions. Celestial Dragons are. And yeah, I think the Gorosei technically are Celestial Dragons, but we've seen that the Celestial Dragons are human just like anyone else. They can be incredibly powerful or incredibly, incredibly weak. So let's see just how incredibly powerful the Gorosei are, Oda to the reader, but Vegapunk to himself and to the world. Let's see how strong the White Warrior is against the top dogs. So perhaps he is off the island, just off the island, letting the Navy head in and do their thing. I think that would speak to his moral grays quite a bit with, Sentomaru being left on the island. I still, at this point, I see Kizaru wasting Sentomaru. I see Sentomaru likely being relieved to see Kizaru. We'll see the ties that have brought him and Vegapunk and Sentomaru together. But I think Kizaru is a cold-hearted bastard, and I think he's always going to play into the power at hand. That's why he hasn't fought for fleet admiralship. He's glad to be an admiral and just kind of report to the Celestial Dragons and the Gorosei. Let them kind of handle things on a political level. He'll handle the military ship. He's pretty good at that. Where else could Vegapunk be? Could he be with the World Economic Journal? Maybe Vivian Wappler with him. No, I don't think he's with the World Economic Journal. But where else could he be? Egghead is not that huge. Shaka was saying, oh, maybe he just fell asleep in a blind spot, I believe is what he said. I mean, That's a whole other video about Shaka that I want a couple more chapters under my belt before. That automatically makes me think, no, he's not. No, how is that possible? There's no way your surveillance systems, even with some knocked out, have just completely negated to find Vegapunk. So where else could he be? Maybe he's waiting on the Sunny, guys. Maybe he already made it to the Sunny. He's hanging out in the kitchen, just feasting away, and he's like, "Where is everyone? Oh, like I'm waiting here. Like I'm trying to leave." No, I don't think it's that. I think he's got something to do with Bonnie still. That is very important. But what about our wild card, who we haven't seen in quite a few chapters at this point? Where the hell is damn Caribou? What is he doing with his weird swamp powers? Did he suck Vegapunk up? Could Vegapunk be trapped with Caribou's power? I don't think that's out of the question either. Caribou is a slimy snake. He obviously has somebody that he wants to reunite with to give them information about the ancient weapons. Vegapunk would be a very good asset to this person, whoever he is. I personally think it could be Crocodile. That's who my main bet is right now. But I mean, you could bring him to Saul if Saul is his contact. If Kid is his contact. If it's his little brother Caribou. If it's, you know, Enel. Maybe he reports to Enel. Maybe Enel came back from the moon already over the time skip. He is the real leader of Caribou, and Caribou reports to him. You know, we've been talking about his return from the moon for a while now. What better way than with another random-ass character with a really broken ability, right? But where is Vegapunk? I don't know, guys. This was all speculation, kind of stream of mouth. We're not going to know where he is for at least another week. I think it could be longer. Personally, I do hope he ends up in the memory bubble with Bonnie in some way. I hope they have some sort of reconnection there where they are able to speak a little more clearly because there aren't listening ears. Maybe he'll, you know, that could infer he knows already that one of the satellites is not what they're saying they are. Like I said, I do think that's Shaka who's going to end up being the snake of the group. But again, that's in the weeks to come. Guys, where do you think Vegapunk is? What do you think? This more than anything else in Egghead has been the strangest turn. Is Vegapunk just going missing? And it's such a big deal, but like on such a muted scale that it feels like there is some greater plan at play here. What do you guys think? Where is Vegapunk? Are we even going to find him again before we get off Egghead? I don't know. Like I said, that's for next week. For now, leave a like, leave a comment if you will, leave a subscribe, click if you will, if you haven't already. I would really greatly appreciate it if you like these videos and what I have to say about One Piece. Until next time, guys, more Last of Us content, more One Piece content always, and more content around the corner as soon as I get these scripts up. Thank you so much. Take care.